You've been taught to chase success, get the grades, build the resume, make the money, be someone. But when you finally arrive, something's missing, and deep down you know, this can't be it. Most people believe success is the answer, that wealth, status, and admiration will make them whole, that if they just push a little harder, they'll finally feel enough. And yet, millions of successful people feel empty, anxious, and disconnected from themselves. Because what if success wasn't designed to fulfill you? What if it was designed to control you, to keep you producing, competing, and proving your worth to a system that never had your soul in mind? What if your idea of success isn't yours at all, but a collective illusion? Carl Jung spent his life mapping the unconscious forces that shape who we become, and he warned, when we mistake the persona, our mask, for our self, we lose the very meaning we're chasing. Modern society feeds that mistake, but Jung, depth psychology, and existential thinkers reveal another path, one based on inner truth, not external reward. In this video, we'll dismantle the lie you were sold about success, and uncover a deeper truth that could save your future from the slow death of false ambition. Let's begin. You were not born chasing success. You were born curious, playful, present, wild with imagination. But somewhere along the way, that shifted. You learned that some dreams were realistic and others were a waste of time. You learned that success had a shape, tall, polished, productive, and that your worth depended on how well you could mold yourself to fit it. But here's what no one told you. Success, as you know it, is a manufactured fantasy, not a universal truth, not a soul-deep calling, a script. And like most scripts, it was written by someone else. Let's zoom out. In pre-industrial societies, success was defined by survival, ritual, contribution to the tribe. Your role was passed down through family or community. You were measured not by productivity, but by integrity, strength, and your connection to something greater. But everything changed with industrialization. Suddenly, people were no longer rooted in tribe or land. They were labor, workers, consumers, units of output. And to keep the machine running, new myths had to be created. Enter the modern idea of success, a shiny package built on productivity, material wealth, status, and external validation. The American dream, the self-made man, the ladder, the hustle, the grind. But underneath the motivational posters and LinkedIn quotes, a darker truth was hiding. This model was never designed to make you fulfilled. It was designed to keep you useful to a system that profits from your striving. Because a person chasing success is predictable. They'll wake up early, buy the right product, chase the next promotion, stay busy, stay anxious, stay consuming, and they'll call it freedom. This is what Jung called the persona, the mask you wear to survive the social world. It's not fake, it's functional. But the danger is when you forget it's a mask. When you confuse it with your identity, when you begin to believe that you are the job title, the income, the image. And this is exactly what modern society encourages. From school, you're taught to perform, gold stars, test scores, college rankings. You're praised not for your depth or sensitivity, but for your productivity. You learn to edit yourself, speak less, please more, compete constantly. By adulthood, you've absorbed it so deeply you don't even notice the absurdity anymore. You wake up feeling behind. You compare yourself to avatars online. You work jobs you hate to buy things you don't need, to impress people who aren't even looking. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet voice says, is this really success? Or just really good branding? Because the system doesn't just sell you products, it sells you an identity. And the currency it trades in is disconnection from your body, your truth, yourself. Carl Jung warned that when you over-identify with the persona, you become shallow. Your inner life shrinks. You become psychologically brittle, successful on paper, but fragile inside. This is the high-functioning emptiness we see all around us. People with impressive resumes and hollow eyes, influencers breaking down off-camera, CEOs in therapy admitting, I don't know who I am without the work. Because when you chase a fantasy, even when you catch it, it disappears in your hands. So what's the alternative? It starts with this question. Whose definition of success are you living out? Your parents? Your culture's? Your ego's desperate attempt to be seen? Or something deeper? Because real success isn't one size fits all. It's not a checklist. It's not found at the end of a productivity app or a salary bracket. It's a process of remembering. who you were before the conditioning, what you cared about before you were told what to want. This is the beginning of liberation, to see the fantasy for what it is, to feel the grief of what you gave up to chase it, and to begin, slowly, to turn back inward. You were not made to perform someone else's dream. You were made to awaken to your own. Every society has its gods, even if it doesn't call them that, and today we worship the god of the winner. He's rich, charismatic, productive, admired. He's always one step ahead, one deal away, one headline above the rest. We don't just celebrate him, we obsess over him. We study his morning routine. We quote his tweets. We copy his diet, his grind, his mindset. We project our unlived lives onto his image. But here's the dangerous truth. The winner is not a real person. He's an archetype, a collective ideal we've unconsciously agreed to worship. And in chasing him, we lose ourselves. Carl Jung understood the power of archetypes. He believed that deep within the human psyche are ancient patterns, images and roles that transcend culture or time. There's the wise old man, the rebel, the nurturer, the trickster, the seeker. These archetypes live in all of us. They speak through dreams, symbols, and fantasies. And among them, the hero or winner archetype is one of the most seductive, especially in modern society, because it promises glory, it promises safety, it promises you'll finally be enough, once you prove yourself. So we internalize it, we make it our North Star, and unknowingly, we begin sacrificing every other part of ourselves at its altar. The artist within us is silenced. It's not practical. The mystic is mocked. There's no ROI on introspection. The nurturer is buried. There's no time for softness in the climb. You're told don't be vulnerable, be valuable, don't be present, be productive, don't feel, win. But here's the paradox. The more you chase the winner archetype, the more fragmented you become. You may gain success, but you lose wholeness. You split off the messy, intuitive, soulful parts of yourself and replace them with a polished image. This is the hidden cost of the winner myth, dissociation. Jung called this the inflation of the persona, the moment you believe the mask is you, but behind that mask, your psyche starts to rot. You feel anxious because you're never ahead enough. You feel numb because you're cut off from your instincts. You feel alone because no one really knows you, only the role you're playing, and deep inside, a rebellion brews. You start self-sabotaging, burning out, resisting your own goals, not because you're weak, but because the rest of your psyche is starving. The feminine, the playful, the wild, the quiet, the spiritual, all the archetypes you've exiled are clawing to be seen again, and the longer you suppress them, the more your success turns into suffering. Here's the truth society won't tell you. Not everyone is meant to be the winner. Some are meant to be the healer, the creator, the sage, the explorer, and those paths don't come with trophies. They don't get you followers. They don't look successful from the outside, but they're yours. And that's what matters. Because you can spend your whole life climbing the ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. You can spend decades becoming what the world admires, only to lose the parts of yourself that you secretly loved. But it's not too late. The moment you see the winner as just one archetype, not the archetype, something shifts. You stop chasing someone else's mythology, and you start listening to your own. Ask yourself, what part of me have I abandoned to appear successful? What role am I playing that no longer fits? What archetype is calling to me through my dissatisfaction? This is not about rejecting ambition. It's about redefining what it means to win. Because real success isn't being the best at the game. It's realizing you were never here to play their game at all. There's a story running your life. You didn't write it. You didn't even choose it. But you've been following it for years. Wake up early. Work harder than the rest. Prove yourself. Climb higher. Buy the house. Drive the car. Raise the kids. Smile for the camera. If you do it right, they'll be proud of you. You'll finally be enough. This is the success script, the invisible blueprint that defines what's worth wanting, and it runs so deep, you often mistake it for your own voice. But here's the truth. That script is not yours. It's inherited from your parents, your culture, your peers, your fears, and most powerfully, from your unconscious mind. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, the vast inherited sea of ideas, archetypes, and instincts that live beneath awareness. And through it, we absorb not only myth and meaning, but also conditioning. From a young age, we're taught what's admirable. We're praised for being productive, obedient, attractive, intelligent. We're punished, often subtly, for being messy, slow, sensitive, different. So we adapt. We adjust. We contort our soul to fit a mold we didn't design. This is the birth of the false self, the part of you that performs success in order to earn love, the part that confuses visibility with value, the part that works not to fulfill a calling, but to fulfill a narrative. And the world rewards this, because a person following the success script is easy to market to. They'll chase the next goal, buy the next product, download the next app that promises optimization. But deep inside, a quiet fracture grows. You succeed, but feel nothing. You accomplish, but feel unseen. You tick the boxes, but secretly wonder, who am I doing this for? This is the moment when the script begins to unravel, and it's terrifying, because if success isn't what you were told, then what is it? If your goals aren't your own, then who are you without them? This is the existential cliff Jung and other depth psychologists point toward. To live authentically, you must confront the terrifying possibility that the life you've built isn't aligned with who you really are, that your ambition might be a trauma response, that your drive might be inherited anxiety, that your dream job might be your shadow's performance piece. But here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you question the script, you begin to reclaim yourself. The self, in Jungian terms, is not the ego. It's not your image, your brand, your status. It's the whole of you, the integrated totality of your being. And that self often speaks in discomfort, in the career that looks perfect but feels dead, in the success that brings no peace, in the voice that says, I don't want this anymore. That's not weakness. That's your soul waking up. And once it does, everything changes. You begin to trade striving for listening, performance for presence, approval for truth. You start asking harder questions. What do I value when no one is watching? What did I love before I was told who to be? What if success isn't something I chase, but something I remember? Because true success doesn't come from perfectly executing a script. It comes from burning the script and writing something real. It comes from going off course, on purpose. From disappointing others, so you can finally stop disappointing yourself. From redefining success not as a destination, but as alignment with your deepest self. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, beyond all conditioning. It's not comfortable, it's not glamorous, but it's real. And in a world addicted to illusion, realness is the new rebellion. There's a moment no one prepares you for. You win. You arrive. You check every box you were told to chase, and instead of joy, you feel a quiet emptiness, a silence that no praise can fill, a hunger that success can't touch. This is the moment when the illusion cracks. Because for years you believed the promise, if I just achieve more, then I'll be whole. If I succeed, then I'll feel worthy. If I become someone, they'll finally see me. But success built on disconnection doesn't lead to fulfillment. It leads to existential despair. Carl Jung knew this well. He saw that when the ego is inflated by external victories, but divorced from the self, a deep spiritual fatigue sets in. The psyche rebels, not with noise, but with numbness. People will do anything, Jung wrote, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And success, when rooted in ego, is often the ultimate avoidance strategy. Because as long as you're chasing, performing, achieving, you never have to sit with the deeper question, who am I, really? Viktor Frankl, the father of logotherapy, said that the root of much modern suffering isn't trauma or failure, but meaninglessness. He saw it in wealthy patients, executives, professionals, people who had it all and yet felt nothing inside, because the soul doesn't speak in trophies, it speaks in truth. And if you've abandoned that truth long enough, even your greatest achievement will feel like a lie. You've probably felt it in yourself or seen it in others. The millionaire who secretly feels like a fraud, the influencer who spirals into addiction, the high performer who has it all but can't sleep through the night, the parent who built the perfect life but silently resents every day of it. This is not failure. This is the crisis of the unrealized self. Because when you climb a mountain that isn't yours, the view will always feel empty. This is what existential philosophers like Kierkegaard and Camus called the absurd condition, that human beings are wired for meaning, but keep building lives that ignore it, You can't fill a spiritual void with material success. You can't substitute purpose with performance. But that's exactly what modern society trains you to do. It tells you that if you feel empty, you must need more. More money, more followers, more degrees, more speed, more control. But what if the cure isn't more? What if the cure is truth? The truth that you've been disconnected from your inner voice, that you've built a life around admiration instead of alignment, that your success was built on survival, not sovereignty. And that's okay, because this moment, the moment of emptiness, is not the end. It's the beginning. It's the moment your soul stops tolerating the fake. It's the rupture that makes rebirth possible. Jung called this the confrontation with the shadow, the hidden, rejected parts of ourselves we've exiled in our pursuit of external love. To feel empty in success is not a failure. It's a sign that your shadow is knocking, that your self is waiting. So what do? You stop performing. You get honest. You grieve the life you built on someone else's dream. And then, slowly, awkwardly, you begin to listen for a new one, a quieter dream, one that doesn't need to impress, one that doesn't shout, but pulls you gently, like a thread in your chest. This is how real success begins, not with applause, but with awakening. Because fulfillment doesn't come from the top of the ladder. It comes from climbing the right mountain, one that leads you back to yourself. All your life you were told to succeed, to become someone, to build something others would admire. But no one told you the real goal. Not fame, not fortune, not even freedom in the way you were taught. The real goal is wholeness, and that path begins not when you conquer the world, but when you return to yourself. Carl Jung called this process individuation. It is not self-improvement. It's not about upgrading your habits or optimizing your output. It's about integration, the lifelong unfolding of who you truly are beneath the conditioning. It's the process of bringing together the conscious and the unconscious, the persona and the shadow, the mask and the soul. Most people never begin this work. They spend their entire lives expanding the ego, thinking they're getting stronger. But in reality, they're just growing the mask. The house gets bigger, the followers pile up, the resume shines. But underneath, the self is undeveloped, unheard, forgotten. And that's why so many successful people feel like imposters. They've won the game society handed them, but they never discovered who was playing. Individuation changes that. It begins the moment you stop asking, what will make me look successful? And start asking, what feels authentic, even if no one applauds it? Because here's the secret. The soul doesn't care if you're impressive. It only cares if you're real. It doesn't want you to win a game designed by someone else. It wants you to create your own. And often that means breaking every rule you were taught. It means walking away from the right path and forging your own. It means disappointing people who only knew your persona. It means letting go of old dreams, not because you failed, but because you outgrew the version of yourself who wanted them. Individuation is not about rejecting ambition. It's about redefining it. You don't stop creating. You create from the inside out. You don't stop striving. You strive for alignment, not applause. You don't stop dreaming. You dream in service of yourself, not your survival strategies. This process is messy. It's non-linear. And often it starts with collapse, the moment when the success mask falls apart. But from that collapse comes clarity. You begin to notice what energizes you, not because it's strategic, but because it feels true. You start to follow hunches, symbols, synchronicities, things the ego once dismissed. You slow down, not out of laziness, but because your inner world starts speaking louder than the noise outside. This is the moment you stop climbing and start deepening. You stop performing and start embodying. You stop striving for more and start surrendering to what already wants to emerge from within you. That's success. Not a finish line, not a number, not a role, but a life that is so deeply yours, so intimately aligned with your inner world, that even in stillness it feels meaningful. Because you're not faking it anymore. You're not selling yourself to the highest bidder. You're not sacrificing your truth for safety or status. You're living from the center. And from that place, everything changes. Your work becomes service, not compensation. Your relationships become sacred, not strategic. Your time becomes art, not obligation. This is what Jung meant when he said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not the brand, not the persona, the self. And that's the real goal. One that no one can give you and no one can take away. Not success, but integration. Not applause, but alignment. And in that space, you don't just succeed, you become whole. You were told success would save you, that if you became impressive enough, rich enough, admired enough, you'd finally feel whole. But now you see it clearly. Success, at least the kind you were sold, isn't the destination. It's the distraction. A shiny illusion that keeps you chasing approval while quietly disconnecting you from yourself. This is the great deception. Not that you're failing, but that you're succeeding in something that doesn't actually matter to you. Because what modern society calls success is often just well-dressed survival, performance without purpose, achievement without authenticity, momentum without meaning. And the cost? Your peace, your truth, yourself. But now you know the truth. You weren't meant to be a symbol of success. You were meant to be a whole human being. And the path to that wholeness doesn't require you to climb higher. It asks you to go deeper, to strip away the script, to question the mask, to grieve the dream that never belonged to you in the first place. And then, to create something real, a life aligned not with society's standards, but with the soul you've been carrying this entire time. That's not easy, but it's everything. So if this message hit something real inside you, if you've been secretly wondering whether the ladder you're climbing was built for someone else, take this as a sign to pause, to breathe, to listen, to begin again. Because success isn't out there, it's in here, waiting to be reclaimed. If this resonated, share it with someone who's been chasing the dream and still feels lost. They might not be broken. They might just be ready to come home to themselves.